With Zack Snyder's version of Justice League finally being released on HBO Max, I thought it would be a good time as any to take a look at the Ninja Turtles version of Justice League. Now, this version was called the Justice Force and has somewhat interesting history on the show. Hell, even when they're not on screen, they still make references to the Marvel and DC universe. I mean, doesn't this little man look a little bit like Brainiac, or is it just me? So yeah, let's take a look at the Justice Force timeline.
Let's make this the Justice Force's finest hour.
We really like Casual Friday.
And before we do get started, if you do like this content and want to see more from this channel, please do make sure to subscribe, like, and turn on post notifications. Now let's get on with the video. To start this video off, we must take a look at the very first edition of the Justice Force. Now this team was sort of like a parody of the Justice Society of America, and you can sort of see it in the characters and who they actually represent. And yeah, so this team was worked throughout the 60s, and who eventually have their stories and missions told in comic book form in 2003. This team will consist of Zippy Lad, who is a parody of The Flash, most notably Jay Garrick, Metalhead, and no, he is not a robot version, but instead he's a parody of Medusa from Inhumans, Jerry Elastic, who is a parody of Plastic Man, or Nugget Man, or Mr. Fantastic. Stainless Steve still is a bit interesting because he doesn't really have a counterpart in the Marvel DC universe, but people have compared him to Adam West, and I could sort of hear that in his voice, but that's pretty much as far as it really goes. Then there's Doc Dome, who has like a few people who he could be like a counterpart of in the Marvel and DC universe, but the one that I'll think he is more like is probably Ant-Man, just due to the fact that he's able to control all these like little robots, like Ant-Man can control the ants. And then there's Bannon Bernice, who is sort of like a parody of Jean Grey, but we don't really ever get to see her powers or anything like that, so it is really hard to tell who she really is a good parody of, or a bad parody of in some cases. So with their timeline, Bannon Bernice was in love with Stainless Steve still, but she had some feelings for Doc Dome, and then she would have to leave the team to have the baby of Doc Dome. After a year, she would come back to the team, but sadly she was not there for too long, as she would eventually give her life in one of her missions, and with that the team would disband. Then Steve decided to publish all the stories and missions that they went on into comic book form. But sadly, in 1968, the world lost another great hero, and that hero was Green Mantle, who was a parody of Green Lantern. Now during the battle with Chief Blunder, he was shot by a laser and his cake came off, causing him to lose the battle and his powers. And now it's the end of that. The great era has ended. Now in summer of 2003, when Mikey is reading through his comics, he has to find the last issue of the Justice Force comic to find out what happens. Then Casey and the Turtles go up to Northampton to try and find it at Steve's comic book store.
Road trip!
But then the shop is attacked by some dome droids, and then they take Metalhead. With this in mind, Steve takes the initiative to reunite the team back together again, where he finds his old teammates, and they're not in the greatest of shape. But not long after this, the house is attacked by more dome droids, and the dome droids take away the whole Justice League, not Justice League team, the Justice Force team, but they leave Stainless Steve still there. So Steve, the Turtles, and Casey go up to a big droid base, which sort of looks a little bit like the Injustice Society base, but that's still debatable if it is sort of representing it. But either way, they're there. When they get into when Steve, Casey, and the Turtles get inside there is a little bit of confusion as they get the teammates out and Dr. and Ross on the scene, and they start to question each other, saying, "Oh yes, you betrayed us. No, you betrayed us." But then we see Bannon Bernice come back. Everyone thinks that she's alive, but no, it's actually the daughter, who is now called Amanda. After a bit of convincing, some talking and stuff like that, they're able to see past differences and basically make up. At the end of the episode, we see Steve give Mikey a communicator, and that's pretty much it. And then to make things even better for Mikey, they did release the last comic book issue, and with Mikey on the title, which I'm pretty sure goes against all the things of Ninja, with them being supposed to be in the shadows. Yeah, that doesn't really go too well for them. So, with that team out of the way, we had to look at the new generation of the Justice Force, which has a more of a more modern style Justice League members? It's sort of debatable. Now, with the first hero we ever get to see on screen, and it's actually the first hero we ever see throughout the whole show, which is in season 1, we get to see Silver Sentry, who is sort of like a parody of Superman, but doesn't have all the same abilities as him. We wouldn't really get to see any more Justice Force members, or even heroes, until season 3, in the big shocking opening event that was the Space Invaders. It had multiple impacts on storylines that are still left to come. But during the Triceraton invasion, we did get to see the new modern version of Justice Force. Now, this version consisted of Stanley Steve Steele, Metalhead from the previous one, Amanda who took up the mantle of Doc Dome, Chrysalis who's a resident from India. We never get to find out her powers or anything like that, but she's like sort of like a parody of Songbird. And then there is Otisami, who is a resident from Japan and is a parody of Aquaman. Now, it's safe to say that this team was useless, I was defeated very quickly, and were not on screen very long. And surprisingly, we don't get to see the Justice Force until season 5. So, yeah, what happens between season 3 and 5? Well, in season 4, they did have 2 new heroes. We got to see Nobody, who is a parody of Batman, and there is some real big, like parodies of stuff. I get to see the Batman the Anime Series intro done with Nobody. Interesting. And then also get to see the famous line of "I'm Batman" with "I'm Nobody."
What are you?
I'm Batman.
Who are you? Who are you, man?
I'm nobody.
Tell me who you are. I have to know.
Somebody.
The other hero to be shown during this time was Hawkman, or Raptor, but he's a parody of Hawkman, and you can see why I'm getting mixed up with these heroes. In season 5, there was a new expansion for the Justice Force, which needed new heroes, and there was how to get some new heroes. They was how to get Raptor and Nobody to join their ranks, but also getting new recruits for the team. These recruits would be Bone Master, who's a parody of Hawkeye or Green Arrow, but either way, he's still about uses as real heroes. And then there was Monocle, who's like a parody of Batman or the Atom or then there's also Gauntlet, who there's a few heroes you could compare him to. He just looks like someone from the Wrecking Crew from Marvel. But then the team was attacked by Nano, and at the end of the episode, I was able to get Nano to join the team and be a good guy. Then in the season 5 finale, when Demon Shadow was attacking New York, the Justice Force teamed up with the Turtles, Pearl Dragons, Agent Bishop, all those guys to take on the Demon Shadow and his army. But again, they were still useless and were defeated very, very quickly. Now in season 7, back to the sewers, there was a few little interesting things that happened. So there was so in episode 12 of the series, Raph and Mikey go to a Comic-Con convention, dressed up as like Batman and Robin, but you know, turtles and oh god. But yeah. So Dr. Nicholas is back on the scene. He steals the cape. Raphael stops him and takes the cape back and becomes the new Green Mantle. Mikey becomes very jealous of him and hates him and tries to attack him to get the cape back. But then Dr. Nicholas arrives. Then Mikey and Raph had to team up and stop him, and then they gave the cape back to the original Green Mantle. And this episode is often considered one of the worst episodes, and I think I might know the reason why. Raph has a nose. I think that's the reason why everyone hates this episode. Now, in the last episode of the series, which is Wedding Bells and Bites, which is actually a very good episode, I don't think many people talk about that too much, but still, either way, the Justice Force turns up late to the wedding, but in time to fight the Foots, and then they still, catch the final bit of the wedding. So I don't really know why they actually even bothered to go to the wedding. They haven't really talked to April Casey in the first place. But then we have to jump back to season 6, which is fast forward, which takes place in 2105. Now there is sort of few references throughout the whole series, or like the season in particular, about Marvel and DC stuff, but there's quite a lot of stuff with DC and stuff. Even in the opening scene, we get to see Mikey doing a Clark Kent reference with Superman. What? But yeah, this episode gets even weirder as Mikey does encounter the 2105 version of Total Titan, who is a grandson of the original Silver Century. Well, it goes much deeper than that, because this version is also a parody of Terry McGinnis, who is the Batman in the Batman Beyond TV show, which is also set in the future. And that's pretty much that for the entire thing. But also some other little references to stuff, just like Constable Wiggles giving out the Tail signal, which is like a parody of the Bat signal. In the flashback, we can see the like Tail Cave, which is like a parody of the Bat Cave, and so on. But in the museum, there's also a few interesting little Easter eggs and details to comic books. Now, on this little wall here, we get to see some very cool, interesting things, like they're parodying of. Now, there's a few of them. There's also a museum with loads of comic book stuff and references. So, I will do try to get as many as I could. It's not many, but it's as good as I could get. So, we get to see the Action Comics, one with the first appearance of Superman with Silver Century. There's actually a few with Silver Century stuff. Got them here, but until like Supergirl on the covers, we get to see his like next version of Silver Century, his kid. Yeah, there's also a Nobody one, which is basically the Batman one. Yeah, I don't really know who the Robin is. Interesting, I realise I know what that one is. The Tales of Titanic Tales, which is a parody of the Amazing Fantasy one with the Total Titan. But if you aren't familiar, there was a Leonardo one with someone else. Yeah, and then Justice Force comic looks a lot like the X-Men one with the Dark Phoenix storyline. There is like loads of other like more comics on the wall, but it's very hard to tell what ones they're trying to parody of. And if I can find them, it's very hard to know what comics they're actually parodying, so it still comes down to two problems really. And then of course, at insult to injury, we also have this little clip here.
Told ya I had superhero street cred. That was from the time Turtle Titan took on Galacticus.
Yeah, he basically just said that he took on Galactus. Which, how did he take on one of the biggest threats in the Marvel Universe? Oh god. A few episodes later on the journal, there was an interesting little side story with Mikey about when he would travel back to the past and give information that he probably shouldn't have. He helps Silver Century out and then helps the Justice Force out and takes down a big baby, but in doing so the baby turns all the other Justice Force members into babies and they grow up with April. So yeah, and while this episode is actually considered fake because the storylines were made up for this episode, that makes it, I probably didn't explain it properly, but I know what I mean, that's good enough for me. But still, that doesn't really count as canon. But you could say that it did sort of happen in a different timeline, maybe. And so yeah, that's a very cool version of Justice Force, or Justice League, should I say, that happened in Tales. And I really did enjoy doing the research for this video. I just got to dive into more Marvel and DC stuff, which I probably don't really do often. So yeah, and just let me know who your favourite Justice Force member was in the comments below, or even who your Justice Force member or favourite Justice Force episode was. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for today, guys. If you do like something, please share, like, subscribe, and all that stuff. Goodbye, yo, bye.